Welcome to Trail Manners, the podcast so dedicated to mountain trails and running that they broadcast out of a 78 Volkswagen bus in the mountains. Who does that? Eric and Joel are your hosts and will bring you the trail life as you may have not heard it before. You hear about everything from gear reviews, nutrition to keep you upright and moving forward, and they'll even bring guests into the bus for conversations that you won't hear anywhere else. It's time for some running adventures on a higher elevation. The old 78 Volkswagen bus is fired up and headed to the mountains. Here are your hosts for Trail Manners, proudly representing the 801 with their passion and love for the trails. Eric Manning and Joel Hatch.
Welcome to the Trail Manners Podcast, episode number 121. Yes, we are back. And today we're going to be talking with UTMB finisher, third American female, Tara Warren. So if it's your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The Trail Manners Podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, except for lately. And show notes are found at trailmanners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Trail Manners. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get after it. All right, we are back with a Tuesday podcast with the Trail Manners Podcast. We're sitting here at Mount Ogden Park in beautiful Ogden, Utah. Got Joel sitting next to me here.
Yes.
Super chipper looking today.
Mm-hmm.
And our guest is, this will be her third time on the show.
She's catching up to, who's been on 3 times?
Turtle, Luke.
Yeah.
There's been a few.
Right. So she's close.
She's close.
I think she's tied.
She probably is. I don't know if there's anybody been on 4 besides me and you.
Right.
Harrison's close.
True. Good point.
But she's been on episode number 3.
Wow.
So in the infancy stages of our podcast.
Really? 3?
Yeah.
We've all grown so much.
We have.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And that was like 2 years ago.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And on number 34. So pretty big gap here for the next one.
Right.
So this is episode 121. And I'm a numbers guy. So she's on 3. So 1 plus 2 is 3 times 1 is 3. And 30,
you lost me at 3.
34, 1 plus 2 times 1 is 3, and 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 4. 34. Okay. So I nailed this.
All right, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Everybody's driving their car with their thinking now, listening to the podcast, or running, not tripping. Her handle on Instagram, you probably follow her, is Run with Tara. She's all over the board there. She's got 1.2 billion followers and closing quickly on the number
on 2
billion,
yeah.
which is probably held by Kevin Hart or The Rock.
Yeah.
There's only 2 people probably ahead of her.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tara Warren is with us this afternoon.
We need like a background hand clapping and cheering section.
I should probably mix that in.
There's a couple moms over there with their kids. I bet they'd be interested.
So we'll do a quick pause, like a 3-second pause.
Okay.
And
yeah, so you can find that, put that in
clap,
there. Right.
Give it the clap.
Yeah.
No thanks. So
like
pause.
can clap and laughter type of thing. We need some of that.
I'll find some. I'll figure it out. I got nothing else to do.
You got the skills.
Yeah, and nothing else. Maybe I'll record myself giggling, and then that'll be it. Go to a park. But yeah, so she, like I said, she's been on the show twice. This is her third time. Or one of the reasons we love having Tara on the show for number 1, but number 2,
she's local.
She's local.
It's easy to schedule.
Yeah, but
thanks, guys. Yeah.
But today wasn't easy.
No,
we were going back and forth with all
that.
kinds of issues. But the other thing is she just came back from UTMB,
right?
And so that's just an exciting race. I know people love to hear about, myself included. So that's why we're going to be talking to her today. Is kind of focusing on UTMB, but this year she's already had a pretty strong year. Black Canyon 100K, which Joel's going to run next year.
Yep.
Oh, good.
I just threw that out there, but
awesome.
It's on my list.
It's on the list.
It's on my list. Yeah.
The Bighorn 100.
No, not
she
doing
ran
that
this year. She also informed us. We forgot she's running Finland.
Yeah.
With bestie Emily Forsberg. Right?
Yes. Emily.
She was over there for the Sunto Summit of some sort.
That was beginning of
you
May.
won a contest or something, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I got sent out there, won a contest submitting for the summit, and I got picked. It was cool.
So
it's called the Bodum Trail.
the Bodum.
When they say it sounds like bottom trail, which my 7-year-old would think that's really funny. I'm going to call it the Bodum trail.
I almost giggled.
I know, I saw your face.
7-year-old. Then I'm like, whoa, I'm backing off.
I'm more mature than that.
I at least got an 8-year-old sense. So you've done that, and then, of course, in a couple weeks, you've got the Bear 100 coming up.
2 weeks.
Is that going to finalize your year, or do you have anything after that besides the Nordic Valley 7K?
Yes, the Nordic Valley will close the season in December.
That's a great party to finish the season with.
Definitely.
So, yeah, UTMB, for those that don't know, vert, you're looking at, I'm going to give you both because it is in Europe. So it's 10,000 meters of vert, or as I like to say, 33,000 feet.
The climbing.
Mileage, 170K, which is 105.6 miles.
Okay.
And you did finish this race in 35 hours and 1 minute.
I did.
Do you know what the cutoff is for that race?
It's 46.
Oh, yeah.
30.
Yeah. Stop for
Or,
cheese,
by the way,
milk
she
and goats.
came around a little faster and got under 35.
That's what I was going to ask her next, is like
Right?
35:01. That
Come
sounds
on.
like a time I would throw down.
Yeah,
You
right.
know, not like fast, I'm just saying obscure number. Like
Right.
about 2 minutes faster. 'Cause
You would have
probably
slowed
could've-
down so you can add that stuff up to 8 is what you would have done.
No, because it does. 3
No,
plus
I'm saying
5.
you would have done something to get 8.
Yeah, well, it is. 3 plus 5 is 8 times the 01 is
my
8.
word.
So,
Guys.
No, times 0
so
zeros it out.
add 0.
Okay.
Is 8
Gotcha.
times 1 is 8.
Once again, you've lost me.
Bring it at me. My favorite number is 8.
Is it 8?
It is, for sure. So
He'll
every time
do
I get
anything
a bib,
to get to 8.
I get it, make it equal 8. So
Yeah.
times, divide, multiply. Sometimes it's rare, but it doesn't.
He gets a Sharpie and he's like writing it on there.
Yeah, I'm just like, nope, we're going to put this.
Yep.
So that's what I should start doing with my number. If I'm like number 35, I should put a plus sign in between those numbers.
There you
That would
go.
be so
That's
awesome.
why things have gone south, is because you haven't done that.
Doing it
There
coming
you
forward.
go.
That's why we do these podcasts, to figure this out.
it.
So yeah, UTMB, you've been back, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Right in there?
The race was 2 weeks tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, so yeah, and this show launches on a Tuesday, so it'll be over 2 weeks by the time you listen to this.
2+.
2+ weeks, but we're going to start off. We're going to kind of be all over the place because we're going to play off you on what you talk about. She's got her UTMB vest.
Yes.
She's
Short
got
the vest, if you guys
all
can see it.
kinds of literature here.
Memorabilia.
Mainly because I
Memorabilia.
can't remember anything, and
Right.
I can't say any of these names because they're in
Join the
French.
club.
And
Well, I'm
so I have
looking
to
at
cheat.
I'm looking at your stuff, and they have like pictures or like a legend on a map. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I see musical notes, so I'm kind of
Right?
that's kind of
So you can stop and charge up your Jaybird headphones, right?
Yeah, you can download on your iPod.
Your
some
iPod.
some music from
Your Walkman.
some calming
some walk.
music.
You can change your cassette like a little box in the mountain, like those bookstore boxes.
Oh my
Good
gosh.
sharing.
Yeah, it's like
cassette sharing.
Tom-
Dude, she had one of those things on her sleeve where she had the CDs like stacked in there.
She's like,
Yeah.
okay, this cassette Top Gun I've listened to 3
Top
times.
Gun.
So
Yeah.
Now I'm going to switch over to Rocky 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first thing I want to ask, because this is a part that intrigues me, is what's the atmosphere is like a carnival. I mean, there's just people hanging off of balconies. What's the atmosphere? You got there. What was your timeline once you arrived in where?
Chamonix.
Chamonix.
Yep.
Or
Did you fly
Chamonix.
in?
Sham.
Did you fly into Paris and then train it over to Chamonix, or did you fly into? Where'd you fly into?
We and my husband and my 2 boys, we
Right.
flew into Geneva.
Okay.
And it's about an hour and a half drive to Chamonix from there.
Did you guys
Pretty easy
drive, or
drive.
did you take a shuttle?
We drove, and we got the sweetest upgrade. We got this A5
Oh,
that you should
nice.
have seen Bryce
Yeah.
hugging the curves coming into town.
You know it.
We were,
Did he giggle?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
He did, and he doesn't do that.
Yeah, that's what I was going
I
to
know.
say.
So he was like, my kids are in the back seat just freaking out.
Just
They're like,
puking their
Dad,
guts
Dad,
out.
I don't know. And he was like,
That's awesome.
but yeah, easy driving.
Okay.
Like, I think one of the biggest things when people have asked what that part of the trip was like, I mean, outside of the race, everything was so easy. Like, everything was automated, easy. There weren't any glitches per se with, like, renting, even Airbnb, everything. Paying for things, all that was just really, really easy, which added definitely to having a more calmer situation overall. So
Yeah.
Right.
that was a nice surprise. You never know how those things will go. So.
And how many days before the race did you land? I'm sorry.
We got there. We left on a Monday, and it's like a long,
Flight
long
and
day,
time
like
travel.
plus 8 hours. So you lose kind of a day.
right.
Then we got in Tuesday afternoon,
And the race was.
and the race was Friday
Okay.
at 6 p.m.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
we'll get
Me and
to that.
Joel have
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about that
Let's-
ourselves.
oh, gosh.
but so the trip in was nice. You settled nice. Did you do
Yeah.
some
sightseeing?
shakeout runs, sightseeing? What'd you do on the days leading up to the race?
Find like the perfect gelato place?
Yes, definitely. All those things. Matt Clark, who had ran it last year, he gave me a great location to stay, and I'm not sure if that's where him and Kendall stayed,
right,
or if they wanted to, or I can't remember that part, but we were staying like right there on the block where all the action was going down. Like, if anybody has been there, it's kind of right across the street from the Solomon store, and just complete lucked out on that. So we were right in the thick of it. And so, as you guys know, all of the days there's a certain race, whether it's the OCC, the TDS, the CCC, all those letters that I didn't know what meant then, I know what they all mean now.
Do you?
Like, did you hear how I just rattled them off?
You did. Me and Joe rattled them off, too. Like PDQ, PMS,
BBD.
OCD. Bill Bid DeVoe.
So, it was cool. So we were like, you could hear all the cowbells and hear all the action and actually look outside and see all of that coming in, even late until the morning where, you just hoped your kids would stay asleep through all of that. But, it was just brilliant. The atmosphere was electric, and I know that's overused, but it was just really electric and almost sometimes overwhelming because you knew that you still had yours to come.
So did it make you more anxious, though?
Absolutely.
That's one because I talk to people over there, and it's like, how do you calm down?
Right, you almost have to stay off the strip.
Yeah.
It's like Mardi Gras, right?
Yeah. So it was a great location, and it made it easy to get around and be a part of everything or not. And that helped. And one of the things that we just loved as a family was that Wednesday they had kids races.
Oh, your kid's
and
superstar now. It
was so much fun. And as a mom, that was one of the most memorable things for me, is just watching your kids like run around the freaking Alps.
Right.
They weren't in the Alps, but it was in the background.
Yeah.
And they were all jacked up because they felt everything going on. And, my 10-year-old, he was like stretching and doing warm-ups.
Nice.
It was just really exciting.
Yeah.
And, they got little medals, and they're still wearing their souvenir bracelets.
Wow, that's
awesome. They just really had a good time about that. So it was definitely very family-friendly.
Right.
And they made events possible for pretty much everybody, every age group, and
that's really
had a lot
cool.
going on. So that was really a fun diversion, trying to not focus so much on what was about to go down.
Kind of forget, I got to run in a couple days.
Yeah. And literally the kids' races ended at the same time I was supposed to take my kit to go get checked out and get my race number. And so there was a little bit of anxiety still even involved with that, just trying to get all that taken care of. But, it's good.
So you mentioned your kit. So they do have a mandatory gear list.
Yes.
And so they're pretty serious when they examine, and do they go through everything and make you lay it out on a table? How do they make sure you've got your mandatory gear? Yeah,
and I'd heard various things, but basically you had to have everything on the list. And I guess this year was the first year. Not only do they have the required items, and they're very specific with what they are, so you don't have to guess too much. They have a summer kit,
right?
A winter kit.
Oh.
Then there's a separate kit that sometimes the CCC or the OCC has to use too. So all that was laid out. And then you think you're pretty good, and you have everything on your list. And I worked really hard to try to minimize weight because in practicing with my pack, just here and around, it was terrible. Like, honestly, that was the most stressful part, because I could be trained and fit and ready to go. But then you throw a 10-pound pack on your back, and you're like, well, how's this going to work for 100 miles?
Right.
And you don't know, because you can't practice that.
Yeah.
You just hope for the best.
Well, you can practice it. Just train with it all summer, right?
The whole,
pretty much.
The whole summer.
Run for the bighorn.
Yeah.
I'm just going to wear my whole thing. But no, so I felt fortunate. I got enough good gear that minimized the weight. So I was feeling pretty good about that. And then and then I even, like I mentioned, I had to do the check-in. And when you go get your registration and your bib, it feels like airport security. You get the bins.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I saw that.
You saw that?
I saw that.
And so you go in, and you give them your ID and everything, and all the volunteers are just wonderful. Like, this is what they do. Like, these are communities of people that are just there for the runners.
Right.
And you felt that. Like, it was just, like, it was really, really cool. And so everyone's happy and not too stressful. And then you get your printout, and basically you get randomly selected for specific items on your kit.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
And I thought we were going to have to take everything out and how it looked at. And I had probably my most prized possessions, like the things I really worked the hardest at getting, like my jacket and my pants, both my waterproof items. Then they asked for my phone.
Yeah.
And they wanted to see my headlamp, or they call it torch.
Yeah. Right.
My torch.
Gotcha.
And that was it. And I was like, score. Because one of the little sneaky things I did, one of the combinations for, besides waterproof pants, you had to have either tights that went down to your ankles,
right,
or you could have capris with knee socks.
Okay.
Then I heard a hack. If it was warmer weather, you could pack pantyhose.
Oh, yeah.
Like the old come in an egg pantyhose.
Yep, I got some on
like
right
your
now.
grandma. You have some on right now? Awesome. I don't want to see that. So I brought that as a hack just because it saves so much weight.
Yeah.
So they didn't ask to see that, so it was like way score. But so I showed them all the other things, and I was good to go, and that was it. It took probably like 2 hours to go through that process. It was huge.
So what kind of headlamp are you using?
The Neo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just really?
Down.
Did you have a couple extra batteries?
I did.
What you were doing?
Yeah. You're required to carry with you an extra battery the whole time.
Yeah.
And then so like halfway through the race, I had like basically 3 extra batteries.
Yeah.
So I switched out both batteries.
Gotcha.
Which that's another fun story about night number 2. Anyway, so with the kit, then like, I don't know if you guys saw my Instagram stories that next day. So it was about 1 o'clock on race day. We got mobile alerts. And this race is the most automated thing I've ever experienced in my life. Like everything, you're everything. They sent this alert with like,
warning.
Warning.
Emojis.
Asterisks. Yeah, crazy, like clown faces. No. Please activate your winter kit. Oh, and I was like, oh no,
That's so cool.
Bad words in my head. I know. I'm like, you're kidding me. And I had weird, crazy flashbacks of the bear. You know, I'm like going, no, please no. And so at that point, you had to put that winter kit into your pack. So out came the pantyhose.
Yep.
I had to run across the street to the Arc'teryx store and grab some tights. I didn't bring any. Never used them.
Yeah.
But packed everything for that, which included an extra thick fleece. They wanted it to be above 180 grams. Like it was specific. They never weighed it.
So after you're checking, do they check you later in the race as well? I mean, what prevents you from checking in all your gear and then going back and like
pulling stuff out?
Yeah, switching it up. They check you at checkpoints too?
They had one checkpoint. I thought there would at least be 2. They had one checkpoint that might have been, it was around 50K. And they coincidentally checked the same things. I think they checked my phone.
Right.
They checked my light, and they checked for my emergency blanket.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And one other obscure, like if I had enough calories.
Oh, okay.
Real simple things.
Right.
Then check pantyhose again. I didn't have them, so didn't need them.
They make you feel sexy though.
Those
out there, pantyhose still do.
A little compressed, a little curve. But so that was the kit, and it worked out fine. You get to a point where you just don't care what's on your back. You just kind of are going. But then you see like a picture of that profile of what you were carrying, and it blows your mind.
Little turtle shell.
Or you're a turtle shell, or you're running behind people, and you're like, oh
big
my
and
gosh,
bouncy
like, can I fix that for you? Like, do you really need that large down parka? Or, but, everyone made their choices on what.
Can you see where that might be super valuable if you did get caught up there?
Yes.
Right?
Because I heard it was brutal the year before.
Yeah.
Right.
But nothing happened. I mean, we didn't have that type of weather. But, we were ready, I guess.
And so I think you mentioned it, but when they said winter summer kit, underneath that head say winter kit, it would tell you what your winter kit needs to consist of.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And just 3 additional items to what you already had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the
my
extra
winter
weight.
kit doesn't vary much from
That's
most.
true. Yours doesn't. From winter to summer, yours is really not much different.
Yeah, I'm still in shorts. I'm like, I don't know, my winter kit would be different, but if they give you things that would make more sense. Okay.
Yeah.
That helps.
And I got stressed out about it and probably too much, and now I know just to trust what I already wear in the winter. I mean, sure, we had to bring it, but I didn't need to use it.
Yeah.
Because we both know how cold it can get. You can wear your shorts, because I'm the same way.
Yeah.
and even like your core, what you'd need. And so although I had it and I was grateful, I didn't need it because I could trust what I had been used to
you are
through
and what
our
you do.
winters.
Yeah.
So good.
So speaking of winters and all that, how was your weather this year? Was it a factor for you?
It was. This is a loaded question only because of the things that I've come through with races.
Yeah.
Just the random. You guys, a lot of you know how
Bighorn,
random
bear.
crazy races have been.
Right.
And I swear that those experiences, they make you strong and they make you aware of what you can and can't do. And
Yeah.
that's the only confidence that you can get is just by having gone through those. But
Right.
it rained probably the first 6 hours.
Wow.
Pretty steady rain, but it was warm. I had on. I didn't want to use my windbreaker, my like Gore-Tex jacket at that point. I borrowed my husband's for the first little bit, and then I also had on a what do you call it? Those like rain ponchos.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Because you had to stand in it at the start.
Oh, yeah.
For forever.
Right.
And I didn't want to like dabble into that gear quite yet, so I ruined that gear first.
Gotcha.
And stayed totally warm because you're climbing, and if you're going at a steady pace, like
stay warm.
you stay pretty warm. And we had enough downhills and whatnot that it could have become pretty cold if you weren't working hard. But
Right.
I honestly don't think that bothered me. I mean, we know how to run in the rain, and I've had enough of that experience that
Races and
it wasn't
training.
that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't ideal. It wasn't the perfect weather, but I'd much rather run in the rain than the snow.
Yeah.
And that was good. I had a lot of people reminding me, you know how to run in the rain.
Right.
That's not a big deal. Stop stressing about it. Just do your thing. And try to. It's good.
So we'll start there then. So the first 6 hours you run the race. We'll start at the race start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Go
in
back
the
to that.
Oh my gosh.
HE double hockey sticks is that
Right.
like with that many people? Do
Oh
you
my
run
gosh.
like till you wait till mile 4
Well,
to
how
even get
how
to
long?
run?
How
early did I have to
yeah?
be there?
How early did
Yeah.
you get there?
So knowing that I was staying pretty close.
Yeah.
And
So it
knowing that
starts at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is crazy. So we're there in the loft with the kids and whatnot, and another friend was over helping to get ready and do drop bags. And I'm not even making this up. Like I can't even make this stuff up. So it was like I don't know, like 3:30 or 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to keep referencing the Hunger Games too often, but I'm not kidding. Like drums started.
Yes.
Wow.
Like tribal drums.
Yeah.
Like the beating of tribal drums. And immediately I just started like I
Freaking
couldn't
out,
catch
right?
my breath.
Yeah.
And that was like hours before the start. And I'm like,
man.
oh my gosh, like I'm not even like in my race
Yeah,
stuff yet.
right.
Like I don't even have my socks on.
I
I
have a kid on
I
you.
gotta eat dinner.
I
at
know,
6
like
p.m.
I haven't done all
Where's
the
the child?
things yet. So that didn't get me going like immediately, and it was the kind of drums like when you're at a parade or a game, and it just kind of
Big
booms.
thumping.
Yeah,
Makes your
I'm like,
body actually your heart. You can feel it.
yes, and I'm like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's so not fair. I haven't had any caffeine yet, and I was like, wow. And so that started then,
Right.
and it didn't stop. And you were allowed one drop bag for the race.
And was it?
Wait. Say that again.
Yeah,
For the whole race.
105.6 because you're carrying basically
You're
everything you own on
right.
the back.
Yeah, I mean,
Now, do they make you put it at a certain location, or can you choose?
no,
It's at the.
you had no choice.
It was at
Like-
like
It
the
was-
halfway point.
If you're
About
using a
halfway
drop
point,
bag,
uh-huh.
you're putting it here.
So it was at Coeur d'Alene,
Okay.
which was essentially 78K.
Right.
But in my head, because I didn't do all of the kilometers and meters, that's just too much for me. I had it all in feet and miles.
Right.
So it was about 48 miles.
Okay.
And it was the drop bag they gave you, and you put all the things in there that you
Okay.
wanted at that point. And, there were 5 points along the way where you could have crew.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, those were like my food drops.
Gotcha.
They weren't drop bags. You couldn't drop them.
Right.
You actually had to have a person there.
Oh.
So
And
so in the
stuff,
drop bag, so I had to take my drop bag still to the drop bag place, then come back to the start of the race.
Gotcha.
And it was pouring, and that
Right.
was exciting. And you're just trying to be like, yeah, this is it, here we go. But you're like, oh my gosh, it's raining. Oh.
Right.
And just you have like the
So what
both
time
sides.
did you line up?
I got into the mass huddle at like, I don't know, like 5:15. I was trying to delay it as long as I could.
45
you don't want
minutes
to
of
stand out
waiting.
in the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How far back were you from? Because did they have an elite wave, and then did they have a break?
Or is
with
it just first come, first serve?
Well, it was all first come, first serve. And while I was in that thing, I could see they were announcing that all the music going, and I swear it was like Hunger Games music the whole time.
Of course it was.
And everyone was like hanging off the balconies, just like you said. And I'm trying to soak it all in, and it's a lot. Like, not just pressure. Like, you're about to do, and in my head, I'm like, I'm just doing a 100-mile race. Like, but it happens to be more vert than I've ever done in my life.
Right.
Around these mountains that just look like jagged, like knives. They're not like beautiful rolling Wasatch Hills. These are like typical, the Jackson Hole Mountains. Right. When you walk in and you look at the mountains, you're like, oh my gosh.
And they're everywhere.
But
and they're big.
Bigger and sharper. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So there was just a lot going on.
Right.
And everyone around you could feel that tension from everybody. And again, the music's playing, the people are cheering, and then you're just standing there in the rain. And then they pull the elites out and put them in, the front.
Right.
I was probably, I think there were 2,300 people that could have started. I don't know how many back I was.
Right.
I was
26.
Back enough. And some people had their loved ones in that pack with them too, which was kind of dumb.
Oh,
but,
just standing next to them?
Yeah, holding their stuff. I'm like, wah, wah, come on, whatever. And I must have been, I don't know, 30 feet. I was pretty far back. I thought I was going to get to wiggle in.
Right. There was no wiggling.
No one wanted you to wiggle.
Yeah.
You weren't going anywhere.
You were stuck.
You were just there. So they had on the big screens. They brought in the elites and were announcing them. And
from like a heated tent. And
they were all dry and
robes
happy.
And
robes. They had a red carpet.
They'd just gotten pedicures.
So that was the start, and I was just watching my watch, like, come on, like, this has to go faster. It really took forever. I was ready to go, especially
getting antsy.
Since the drumming hours before. Yep. I was ready to go. Like, I could feel it, and I was like, let's just get going. This is enough already. This has been a long week. Let's go. Let's get this going.
Well, you were there 45 minutes before the gun, and I'm thinking like races that we run, it's like 5 minutes maybe, or you're actually sprinting from the toilet to everybody started.
Yep.
I've been dropped off as the race has started.
I've done that as well.
Walked up 5 minutes after everybody took off. Yeah.
And I had heard horror stories like, because you're in that pack for so long before the race. Yeah. I've heard horror stories that people are like standing there going to the bathroom around and all that. I didn't see any of that, thankfully, good. Or experience walking through anything.
Stepping on turds as you're starting.
That's a bad way to go. So I was glad.
That's what happened
very glad.
At the start. Who fell at first?
Yeah.
Who was it that fell at first?
Was it Laney?
No, I can't. Someone fell like 30 meters in
American
and got hurt.
Guy
probably slipped on a turd or something.
Oh my gosh, really?
No, I think
you would get trampled because there were people. People had their hands up and they were pushing you in the back. Like, you weren't moving fast. And there was a weird feeling of, okay, well, if someone falls, like...
I'm getting anxiety just for that start. Like, I don't do crowds.
Everyone's pushing on you really hard.
Yep.
To go where? I don't know. Like, you just had to wait.
Had your hands up, and you're actually getting
you had yours up.
You're protecting yourself. I'd be like chicken winging it, man.
Chicken wing. Think about that. Yep. I had my poles. I could have just...
So when the gun goes off, how long did it actually take before you could even break into a jog? There's a big squeal, huh?
Wow.
How long did it take before you could break into a jog from the start?
So after going like the giant arch, and it's just as cool as it looks on the pictures.
Right.
As soon as you go through that, it was kind of, the shuffling.
Right.
And I think everybody just wanted to go. And I pretty immediately, and there was some stops and starts because that cute little street where you run through, where all the people are lined up, you just had to funnel it. And, and some people would see their loved ones. Like, I got to see Bryce and the kids. That was awesome. And Chris from Squirrels Nut Butter shouted out to me, and there was people along the way that was just a really neat thing because these races basically you're just going off into the woods by yourself. You don't even know where or how to say the names, but there you go. And so it's, it's kind of daunting. It was a little scary, but excitement. And so I would say probably, 5 or 10 minutes. It wasn't as bad, again, as I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be kind of like, ugh, come on, let's go already. But we were kind of shuffling, and yeah, it was good. And then maybe I'd say like a mile and a half, you were pretty much
locked in at the pace you wanted to be.
And then you were on what seemed to be like a river trail.
Right.
Before you crossed a giant highway and started the climbing. And you were on this river trail. It might not even be a river trail. It might just be what I remember that I thought it was. For, like 6 miles.
Oh, my goodness.
And one of the funny things, so many funny things, it had been raining a lot the last couple of days. And there were these giant puddles, like the trail, maybe the size of a car or something. And you'd see all the different nationalities around you because they would have their flag on the back of their pack, like I had mine. And they'd come to a giant puddle, and everyone would just, stop. Like, completely stop. Like, whoa, here's a puddle. What's going on?
Can't get my feet wet. It's raining hard.
Yeah, we can't get our feet. And they would wait to go in a little crowd, like around the puddle, like on the sides.
Like little amoebas.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm like, and I didn't want to be the obnoxious American going through the puddle, but essentially I'm like, I'm not waiting around for this. This is terrible. I mean, we're kind of in a race and want to get going. And so those were some of the first interesting things I encountered. And
so you went around?
No.
You went through
the puddle.
That's a girl.
I'm a Bighorn alum. You go through the puddle.
Yeah.
That's the best place to run. So
you're an American.
So, that was one of the first different type of things that I saw, because different nationalities handle different obstacles or different, problems that would come up in their own way.
Yeah.
And, just kind of fun to see and learn about that.
People from the desert would stop and drink the water.
Yeah.
They're bathing.
They're like, sweet water! So with the race going on, when you went into it, was there any goals you set for yourself besides the finish? Was there any, like, if you head into another race, I want to do this time, was there anything like that, or you just, hey, I'm here to experience it, I'm going to get it done, I don't know what I'm really getting into other than what I've read and heard. So, I mean, did you have any idea of where you wanted to be when?
No, I really didn't, and that's completely honest. Like, knowing that I didn't want to make this my A race. That was never the goal.
Yeah.
Bighorn was a surprise great race. I was thrilled with that. And I knew I had the bear coming up, and this is my 4th bear, and I really wanted to hit it hard. Like, that's an important goal for me. I had a great race there last year, and I knew. And I signed up for the bear way before the lottery for UTMB.
Right.
So that was always in the back of my head, like I wanted to do really well this year at the bear. And then, then there's UTMB. And I just wanted to be so smart that I would come off and not be injured.
Right.
That's the biggest. Or so fatigued that I couldn't enjoy this amazing experience that I really feel like the bear is.
Yeah.
And you have your little time chart where you want to be, which just helps me manage my expectations, and sometimes makes you feel really good if you're exceeding those expectations. So I went in way conservative with where I wanted to be time-wise along the way.
Right.
And Bryce was so good at helping me prepare all that, because he sets it realistically. I'm like going in, okay, so here's a segment that's, 8.2 miles. Okay, it has like 36 100 feet of vert. Oh, I can do that in this amount of time.
Right.
That's like a Lewis plus, or you have all these different things, and I'd put down this time. He's like, no way, you can't do it like that. Like, it's gonna take you much longer, and that's good to have, that spouse that can kind of smack you in the face and say, you know what, you're not that fast as you think you are. You should go to this, and I trusted that, and that helped tremendously as I kind of set all those expectations up, because I really didn't know. And what I learned about with these mountains, they're nothing at all like I've ever done, and I don't have that much experience at all. But these didn't even have switchbacks. Like, when they are running mountains, they're going up the mountain. It's not like, oh, look at these 12 switchbacks to the top. Isn't that
it's
so nice? Up. It's so, what a nice mountain we have. It's like, no, you're going up the mountain. There's the trail. And through the 2 nights of running, you could see that. And that was the most I think, daunting thing is that you could see, and I'd heard about this, but until I saw it, you could see the line of lights going straight up the mountain.
Oh, okay.
And there was nothing you could do about it. You're just like, oh, there we go.
Yep.
There it is.
There's another one. Yep.
Okay.
Here
That
comes
looks
another.
looks like that's where we're going.
Right.
And there's, nope, I don't see a switchback.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Isn't that
There's
nice?
a line.
Well, you would have given anything for a switchback,
Oh,
huh?
just give me a switchback.
Yeah, just give me, please.
What was the? We'll go back a little bit because
Yeah.
we missed this one because this is one me and Jill talked about. What was it like starting a race at 6 p.m.?
Oh, yeah.
How
Challenging.
Yeah,
was
challenging
that.
is the best word for it. How challenging is that? Because we've talked about we started a race at noon and we were like,
Mm-hmm.
what in the hell?
Yeah.
But at 6
Yeah.
p.m. How is that?
And Bighorn has started at 11
Yeah,
and at 10.
right.
And you can only, eat so much and go to the bathroom so many times.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of like, what do I do?
Watch
Like,
Sammy Saved by the Bell reruns.
I can't check my drop bags anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it is, and you
I've
just
already
fiddle.
slept for 12 hours.
Yeah, you're like, oh. And then the drums start. I think it was just a lot. It was just stressful. I don't know. There's not really any good thing to say about that. Like, it was just stressful.
Did
it
you
was really
Did
stressful.
it add more fatigue to the next 12 hours than normal?
No, a lot of people napped. There was after I got the cold weather alert, I was going to take a little nap. That
Yeah.
sounded good because the jet lag. And,
Right.
I had done a couple shakeout runs, but, I just wanted to take a little nap. But there was no napping.
Right.
I was full on, holy crap
Yes.
mode. And it was, just trying to just really keep my heart rate down. I would have benefited, I think, from a nap. I don't think I've ever been
Have you ever taken
sleepy
naps?
tired.
Do you take naps normally?
Yeah, I can take a nap.
Okay.
I can take a nap pretty quick.
Okay.
But
'Cause I'm not a napper, so those
I'm
are
good
hard
at
for
naps.
me.
Dude, I'm good at napping.
See, I'm
I
not,
can-
so that's why I would
I
struggle.
can crush a 20-minute nap.
I can,
So
yeah,
easy.
I can just
Yeah.
go down. But that was long. That was tiring. It was the positive though, because I try to always look at the positive. I ate so well that day. And even leading up to that, I've really worked on how I'm eating and what I'm eating and when and why. And I ate so well that day. And rather than starting a race, when you're cramming food.
On a cup of coffee and a bagel or banana or,
Right.
your pre-race
Your
meal, Pop-Tart
yep,
or something.
And then you hurry to the finish and you burn that off so fast. I had the whole day to get in 2 good meals,
Right.
process it,
Yeah.
have good calories in my body where I'm not stressed about, I have to hurry and eat quick. And so that was an interesting, very positive thing because there was no stress with that. I felt good. I felt ready. But gosh, that was the longest day ever.
I couldn't
So
imagine.
long.
Like I said, starting at noon, well, me and Joel did the same thing. We had a really non-pre-race meal the night before, gut bomb chimichangas that we would never
we
eat.
did, didn't we?
Yeah, but because you had time to work it through, right?
right.
So it was like,
Yeah.
we can eat whatever we want the night before.
And we got up that morning, and there was free breakfast at the hotel.
Yeah.
I think we hit up that too.
Yeah, we did, and we were still okay. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of because it doesn't really take you out of a routine. Like a 5 a.m. start will take you out of a routine.
Yeah.
Not really.
Well, if you train it, but you got to see it takes me out because I don't eat before I do go a training run.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I don't
All
either.
of us, we run in the morning.
Yeah,
So
5
I'm the
a.m.
same. Right.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
never
need
eat
a-
before.
But if I'm doing a race, sometimes I still question: do I start with something? Do I eat something in the morning? And I usually don't.
Yeah.
I'm not a
Same.
breakfast. Yeah, I eat breakfast, but usually not for a race. So it's
No.
like coffee and
Coffee and that's it.
a chaser of coffee.
Yeah. Coffee and coffee.
Yeah.
Let's
So-
do this.
Dessert, yeah.
So, but it does. I mean, it's like, okay, does that set me back in a race as opposed to, being fully fueled like nothing changed the day before? So, but a 6 p.m. start's a different ballgame.
It is a
Yeah,
different ballgame.
it's different. And
Yeah.
Because, like
you're-
you said, you have 2 nights. If
have 2 nights.
in a 100-mile race, which, unless it's hard rock, that's odd.
Yeah, and you're already kind of not messed up, but your body's kind of like, what? Because you've just flown over.
Right.
And
Well-
the time's different, so you're kind of like, what's happening? And you're just trying to tell your body, it's okay, we're good. I have outside relationship with my body. I talk to it, so you know.
Oh, I do that all the time.
You're like, it's okay. We're gonna be okay. You know, here's what we're doing, and
Right.
we're gonna eat now.
Yeah.
This isn't really lunch, but we're gonna pretend it's lunch.
So
you know what to do.
And you get an
here we go.
involuntary thumbs up. Like
Yeah.
your thumb
Like,
just
you got
comes
it.
up when you don't think about it.
Just do your part, and I'll do mine, and we're gonna be just fine.
Did you ever
So.
mix it up and try and train in the evenings? Like start your run at 6 p.m., you know, knowing that you had a start, or didn't even worry about it?
No, I thought a lot about that, and I'm like, it just doesn't matter.
Okay.
It just doesn't really. I'd rather just stick with what I was doing. No, I never did.
Okay.
I run midday sometimes, and that was
Close enough. Yeah.
It's fine.
So how did the race kind of pan out? Like a synopsis of your race, the high points, the low points.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you went through that river trail, you ran through the water, which we're super proud of. You know, how did the race itself kind of play out for you? Would you look back and say this race played out how I thought it would, or how did your day go?
Oh my gosh, it's the most humbling experience I've ever been through. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, ever, and even after the race, when you'd walk around town and you'd see your race buddies wearing their finisher's vest with it says UTMB finisher on it, you know, I could start crying right now talking about it. You just look at each other and just kind of like whatever language they spoke, you just kind of give them a little head nod and a wink, and like it was just such an understood thing. Like it's hard. It was really hard, and I feel like I prepared as well as I could. Could always do more, but I feel like I was ready physically and mentally, and I read every dumb race report out there like 4 times.
Right.
And I could never remember the names of the places that they were talking about until I was out there in some of them, and I'm like, oh, wow,
This was the place.
there's that one climb for 10 miles. It keeps just going up with no switchbacks.
Yeah.
And you can see them all way up there. And you know, it was just such an amazing thing to just be a part of, but also on the other hand, just to have experienced all the people dropping out too, which was hard, I think, for me, because everyone has all the same information. Everyone knew it was going to be as hard as it was. I don't know, people had different injuries or accidents and bee stings and things like that, which I know created some hard times, but it billed to exactly what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
It was terrible, and it was hard, and have I said that yet?
That's what a T stands
really,
for, and
yeah.
UT, terrible.
Yes.
Ultra
yes.
terrible.
Ultra
And the
terrible
B
Mont
too,
Blanc.
right?
Ultra terrible mother bear.
So, I mean, every time there was something really hard, I knew it was going to be hard. And as cheesy as this might sound, like when it got hard and I thought like, this is way out of my league, which I thought even stepping into the finish line, I mean, you guys know me from just here, like I'm just a mom. I've really gotten into running in the last couple of years, but I mean, I'm towing the line at UTMB. Like what in the world?
Mm-hmm.
It made no sense. And for some reason, everything came together to a race that I've never experienced in my life before. And there was like this fire, this energy in mile 78.
Right.
In mile 80. I haven't had that yet in my little short running career. I'm always like just trying to squeak out a finish.
Right.
But for some reason with this, and I don't know how, I had it, and it was working, and I just went with it. And I apologize to all those people I passed if I was obnoxious and flailing my arms around, singing and dancing, but it was working for me, and I had to go with it.
Right.
And I'm grateful. I don't know what happened. I don't, but it all kind of came together.
So we've had other people on the podcast that have run UTMB. One of them was Brian Beckstead, and he was kind of same boat. He was in awe that he was there, trying to take in the experience. And when he noted, like, going through some of these towns would give him such a pick-me-up because they'd be yelling and ringing bells at 3 a.m. on the street, and little kids and ole and, all these things. I mean, did that how were those moments through the race
Yeah.
when you obviously don't get that here? You know, you get an aid station and someone's dressed as a flamingo. Or, you know, you get that, or you know, in a diaper or whatever. Did you feed off some of that too?
So much. And what I loved is that you had your name on your bib and also your flag. And so people knew what language to speak at you. But what I didn't know is that when people were saying my name, were saying Tara, when they put an accent on it, it sounded like, you know, ta-da, like,
Ta-da.
you know. And so for a while, I was like, gosh, that's like, why are all these magic tricks? Like, everyone's like, you know, or bravo, whatever language was comfortable for them before they saw English. And they'd go, ta-da, ta-da. And I wasn't putting it all together, and then I would get it.
Coming out of hats and pulling a quarter from behind your ear.
They were like magically having escalators. But those people were unreal, like through both nights in the most obscure towns that were so picturesque. Like, I think we want to move there, maybe. It was all that was everything I had hoped for it to be. One particular town, and I'm going to use my cheat sheet here. It was going up like this area, the Notre Dame de la Gorge.
I'd say Notre Dame de la Gorge.
Yeah, so it was around like around 34 kilometers in. So you had kind of just fueled at an aid station maybe an hour ago, which was really neat, and then you started coming up this like cobblestone walkway, and this was in the middle of the night, and it was in the beginning of this insane ascent up to this crazy glacier peak, which I wish I could have been there during the day, because just the things I saw in the outlines just blew my mind, and I was feeling awesome there. I was dry, like the weather was great. It's probably in the 40s, so it was like perfect, you know. And so you're running up this real steep cobblestone way. There was like this old church that was like built in the 1500s, and then there was this bonfire, this huge bonfire at the top of the hill, all these people dancing, cowbelling, and I remember this one older gentleman, he had on, I've never seen it in my life, a waist cowbell. Now imagine like a waist belt with a giant hanging cowbell.
Gotcha.
The cowbell could have been like, I don't know, 20 pounds, and it was dangling around the nether regions. And he was like
gyrating.
Thrusting the cowbell, ringing it with his hands behind his head. He was having the best time out there, and that just, I was like, this is awesome. Like, where am I? Like, this is crazy. I'm just a girl in Ogden out here watching this man having the best time with his cowbell, cheering for us. And they loved every second. Like, it was just so cool. And that continued through all of the small villages. They were all out there in force. Like, little kids just wanted to give you fives and just cheering for you. Like, that helped so
Especially
much.
if you're in a low spot, or maybe, I mean, that just kind of is a pick me up too. Now that's how like aid stations generally are anyway. But if you have that with kids and Joel on a normal Friday night with a cowbell.
With the cowbell, I'm sure we could get you one, I guess.
This is a normal Friday. Joel's like, yeah, that's Fridays.
That might be something we look into.
And it's 25 pounds for those out there.
44 if I'm really training.
Because it's kind of,
it's
you
like a
can put it
kettlebell
at bomber.
swing, right?
Yes, exactly, the kettlebell. Totally. Sans arms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's a 44 pounder.
Somebody's going to lose their junk.
But I mean, that's just part, not just the experience, but also part of, keeping you going, too. Because I remember hearing from a few people, it's like, it's just crazy when you come up sometimes like in the middle of nowhere, and they said the same thing, these towns, and it's the whole town's there. At 2 a.m., it's like they plan for this, and they're just as excited as you are. So, I don't know, that's the part of the experience that I think would be really neat.
That was really neat.
Just all that. And then the finish line, they had such a great, Joel and I have talked about it, had such a great live feed of this race, right? It was like Tour de France, right? But that finish line never seemed to sleep. Nope. No. The streets seemed to be lined the entire time.
6 deep.
Yeah, no matter what time of day, no matter what time of morning, people in balconies. I mean, that, to me, I get goosebumps when I'd watch people finish. I don't care if they were first or 400th, because they're see people weaving, high fiving. I mean, how was that? That had to have been pretty. Because I saw your finish.
Yeah.
We saw Bryce at the finish line. So how was that for you?
Well, that was crazy, and I'll have to say too, I had no idea there were live feed videos at all the aid stations. I had no idea. Or at a couple other places along the path.
Right.
I didn't know. And I was keeping in touch with my buddy Sherry through the race. She would, giving me updates and cheering me on. And then apparently she was sharing these live videos on her Instagram feed.
Right.
And I'd get messages like, "Hey, you're looking strong," or "Looks like the rain's let up," and I'm thinking, "Where are you?" This is really weird, but I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I had no idea, even till kind of the last part, where my husband was like, "We saw you come through," and I was like, "Well, how does everyone see this?" And so he explained to me, and I'm just so grateful that
you didn't do anything.
I wasn't like doing anything weird.
Like swinging kettlebells.
Or taking a little break here or there or whatever. But because obviously they were through the aid stations, but like I said, there were a couple other strategic places where
on the course.
I could have been.
Right.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
That was Hunger Games, total Hunger Games.
Good
I
point.
never had any of the packages come through.
little parachute.
That would be awesome.
little fuel.
You could have one drone drop during the race.
Little spare battery coming through. So Red Bull, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, the finish was just phenomenal. And honestly, there wasn't anybody there when I finished.
Oh, really?
No, there wasn't. Like I had.
What time? So 35 hours. So what time of day was that?
5
a.m.
5 a.m.
Okay.
So still dark.
I'm
yeah, and I had the good people from Jaybird helping me out with a couple of the food drops along the way, like the crew stops, and they're just great. They're a fun new group I'm working with, and just great people. And they were there at the finish videoing, which I'm super grateful for. And my 10-year-old met me about, I don't know, like a mile and a half before the end. And he was able to run with me, and that was, this is so emotional. It's really cool. Just that whole last bit coming down. This is maybe too much information, but
no, that's what we're all about.
So for some reason, I love that Africa song and the original Toto and the Weezer.
The new
redid.
Weezer one is really
love
good.
It. I love Weezer, right? And so that takes me way back to my college years.
Yeah.
At Targhee, there was the Africa route. The loop, the ski route up at Targhee. I just love that.
Funny.
And I don't know, that song is just so meaningful to me. And you're already on like your second repeats of your music by that point.
Good point.
35 hours. And I'm coming down, and the descent into Chamonix was just. It took forever. It was like 5 miles, and it was like straight downhill. Some of it was like 30% grade. It was just tough.
Owie.
It was hard. It was where you thought you were running 8-minute miles, and you looked, and they were like
12.
14. Yeah, it was like wow, I'm really not going fast. And then it was one of those weird things. I hadn't heard this song yet, and it'd come on like right before I hit the flats going into the city, and right after my battery died on my headlamp. So I had to stop. Change my battery with like 10 minutes to go. That was dumb, but glad I had it.
There's the 3501.
Yes,
Good
exactly.
Point.
So I'm running in as hard as I could, or thought I was, and get to where they hit the road. And I'm not even kidding. There's a pedestrian bridge that they wanted you to cross.
I saw that.
Yeah. These people have a sick sense of humor.
Yes. Yeah, go up and over it, right?
So sick. And they had like little banners on it and all that. And they're like, and I'm the only one out there. And they're like, you have to go up. You have to go up and over. And I'm like, no, how about we just call it good? And I'll just, give me a couple minutes and I'll just.
I'll just cut underneath it, right?
I like
DNF at mile 104.5.
And they're like, no, you must go over. And I'm like, oh gosh. And so you did. And there was one more of those also before the end. This cute Instagram friend, Margaret, and her husband were out there vacationing.
Right.
And she was at that point, bless her heart, at 4:30 in the morning. She was out there cheering for me, right there, going over the next dumb pedestrian bridge. It's like a metal pedestrian bridge, like at concerts.
See, I thought they'd put those up there
for people to watch.
For people, like for the elites to go over, and everybody can cheer them on. No.
No, it was sick.
It is.
So sick. In fact, before I forget to, I swear that these organizers had like a sick sense of humor. Coming into almost every aid station, there was some weird route you had to take. Like you'd have to go through a barn, or you'd have to go around a field, and you just follow the flags, and nobody talked to each other. Like none of the runners wanted to talk to each other at all.
Really?
Like, so you were in your own head.
Yeah, you're like, are you seeing this?
Are
we
I'm like,
supposed to
going through a
and
barn?
Is it me?
Is it
Like,
me?
this is messed up.
But everybody's like, no.
Yeah, they're like, don't talk to me, American crazy woman.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. What? So that was kind
Magician.
of weird. Like, I talked about that with a couple other people who thought it was kind of weird. But, you'd run through, then you'd go up a little hill for like 10 feet, then come right back down. It was like, for some reason, they were trying to either tack on that extra mileage or
Had to make it 170K.
That's right.
So that was exactly how it ended, was going through just those weird things.
Right.
And, but yeah, getting to run with my kid up to the one point, then he kind of fanned off.
Right.
He could have come through. They were totally good
Didn't
with
care.
that.
Yeah.
But no, it was basically just a couple of these Jaybird friends and my husband and kids at the end. And I swear they had to like elbow the guy to announce that I was coming through.
Hey, we got a runner.
So maybe that was, because I think there was a guy farther out who would radio and be like, hey, runner, da-da-da, is coming close. So they would be ready to go. So, but that was just the most, just the most humbling thing is getting to finish, to come through that and experience that and to feel like I did. That was so unexpected and so grateful that it happened the way it did. Like I had no clue that it would go like that.
And coming through it, I mean, how did you feel after? I mean, have you feel like you've done well in your recovery? Like it didn't set you back? It
didn't set me back.
Nice.
It's
Probably give you a little the opposite, right?
Boost.
A little boost, little mental.
Yeah.
Oh, bear's not so bad.
And I think a lot of that, I used poles pretty much the whole race. I think it saved my back and my glutes, and it took a lot of the load off of even my lower legs, like my feet placement. I haven't felt that before either. Even at Bighorn, I tried to use the poles. It was just too muddy. Like you couldn't. It was just disastrous. And I still had a longer recovery after that. But seriously, I don't know why this had been such a good recovery. I've been out. I've been putting in some good miles and just trying to assess the damage.
Right.
And I'm not finding any. So I'm all systems go. I'm ready for a good race here.
Good.
At the Bear. It's coming up.
So what do you want to do UTMB again?
I don't know. People have asked me that, and it was such an amazing experience. I almost don't want to touch it. I just kind of want to put it on the shelf and be happy about it. If we would love to go back out there and just run without parameters.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might even get Bryce to. Maybe I'll secretly enter him. I think he would do it. Actually,
he probably would.
He loved it. Oh, he loved it. But I would do the CCC. I think if I went, I would have to do a different race.
Right.
Because I don't want to touch that. That's done.
Yeah.
Like I feel good. That's good. So.
That's awesome. That's really good. That's pretty rare too.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people I got to go back. I know I can cut this or do better here, do better here. But just come away from race going, boom. I did it. Felt great. Wouldn't change a thing. That's pretty impressive.
It's never happened to me before. I'm always doing it the third or fourth time. This one very fortunate.
But the area you want to go back to run and be a part of that again.
Yeah, it was just a great environment, and the trails are so accessible. You can just, Bryce was continuing to train because he's running the Bear, so he had to put in a lot of time too while we were there, and he could just run right from our place up like the vertical mile. You've heard about that there. It was nuts. Like you could see that from our place, and he would go do that every morning and be up on the ridges real quick. And
that's awesome.
There was so much accessibility right there out of the town, which I never ran in that for the race, but just all accessible trails everywhere.
And nutrition-wise, were you felt dialed in with
that? Dialed.
Was it mainly your nutrition, or did you take advantage of their stuff, or did you just kind of do your thing?
Didn't touch it.
Okay, so you just did your thing. So that's going to be what is your nutrition like?
So and this is this is funny. This is where I can get all the criticism. Just bring it in. But this is what's been working for me. Like I'm happy to be working with V Fuel again this year, and it's just worked so solidly for me, whether it's the gels or the powder. That's my main nutrition.
Okay.
And that, and then core power. I'll take a core
that's right.
power at every stop, and at some of the stops, some of the aid stations where I could have a crew. That was I would throw all the other food in my pack.
Right.
Because why not throw it? Anything else, just throw it all in there. And then I would take a core power, and I'm out of there. And I think that's like a huge thing for me is like not even stopping at the aid stations,
right.
just moving on. There are people there at picnic tables like having banquets of food,
cheese
and I'm like, I
crackers
just can't.
and wine.
Let's get it done.
Yeah.
Let's get it done.
Yeah.
And so that worked solidly. There was a big gap, a huge gap actually, of where I was able to have a crew. And I took in some, and they had quite the spread, different from what we have. I took in some questionable cheese and salami. And
out there for
Sylvia Greer she and I can talk about that a little bit. But I had to, like, I was so low on fuel, like I knew it, and it was getting kind of critical, like
right.
to where I couldn't catch up because of the cold. It got really cold, not to where I was uncomfortable, but when it gets that cold, you just lose so much calories. Right. So I had to eat that, and my body was not happy. And I might have whined to a couple people about that and tried to.
But no one listens, right?
No one, they're like, suck it up. You're racing. You paid to be there. Go. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I mean, that was the only time. It was kind of like halfway through. I took that food probably like, I don't know, like mile 60 or 70. So I regretted that, but I needed it. So that was what worked. So that's all I did. And it seems so simple, but I've done that now in the last 4 races.
Right.
And I've had super positive effects. At Bighorn, I actually ran out of food, and I had to take a couple random brand gels,
right.
which I won't bring up. I'll tell you off air.
Yeah.
And that messed me up bad. Like
I
really.
take V-Fuel.
Do you take V-Fuel?
Yeah, I do.
Good. But so yeah,
I do randoms just for
mix
that
it up.
fact.
Just mix it up.
Because you just never know. You get in the aid station, you might not have something.
That's true.
You're
That's
like,
true.
I'm gonna have to commit to that.
Yeah.
And then you're gagging it down.
So you don't ever have a point in these races where, like, even with me and V-Fuel, like, I can't do more gels, right? It's like I'm done with gels. You don't get that way, really?
I have in the past.
Okay.
I think it was Bear last year. I had Ashley Maudsley with me, kind of like up before hitting the Beaver Lodge, and I was so, like, I somehow missed a draw bag or missed food. Something happened, and I was like, again, the critical food where you're like, gosh, this is not good.
Right.
Like, I'm in a really bad place, and I had a gel magically appear in my bag. I swear it wasn't there previously. And she and I celebrated, and I think she did more than me. She was like, oh, finally, I don't have to listen to her whine. And and that was where I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter the fuel. Like, I just need the fuel.
Right.
I need the calories. I'm not going to be picky about what form it comes in.
Right.
And so that works. And their new raspberry lemonade, I don't know if you know. Oh my gosh.
I'm a peach cobbler and a citrus guy. Those
I'm
two
the
are my
citrus,
favorites.
but that raspberry, I'll have to give you one. Like, it's nuts.
I'll
It's
have to
so
try
good.
that.
Like, I could just spread it on a piece of toast and eat
Wow.
it. Like, so good.
I'll have to try that one. I do V-Fuel and then scratch drinks. I
Right.
love the scratch drinks.
Cool.
They're my favorite.
I like the scratch bars. Really good.
Yeah, those are really good. Those are really tasty. So nutrition was on point. So
Yeah.
overall, you just feel like you came away with, hey, something happened and things worked out and
It's worked out.
bing, bing, ta-da.
Yeah, I used what I learned. I think that was the main thing. Like, you go into these races, and you can't just race to win or race to prove a point. Like, you do races to learn, and you have to learn. Like, you're forced to learn sometimes, things you don't want to even know. But you gather all that, and then you have to make better decisions the next time. And it's crazy. When I think about the races I used to use the points to qualify, those races were terrible. Just terrible. Like the 2016 Bear, like
Oh yeah, the weather was
the Bighorn
bad.
the year before that, like all these certain races, like the things that I learned, people shouldn't have to know. Like you shouldn't have to learn these things.
You shouldn't have to experience
You
that.
shouldn't have to. And I don't know why. Or even like the stupid Black Canyon that one year when
yeah.
it was like river mud. Like, yeah, I don't know, but it all kind of came together. And I think the weather was phenomenal. I've heard so many reports about how terrible the weather was this year. And I'm like, I don't know where you were, but it was amazing.
Right.
It was perfect running weather, except for, the first 6 hours. But even that wasn't that bad.
That's not bad. So you got what plans do you have? Do you have any plans for the Bear in your head?
I don't know. Of course I want to do better than last year.
Which was?
28.
Okay.
That was kind of my 100 PR. And considering Bighorn was just a bust this year with the 60 miles of mud, there was no even touching where I was a couple years before finishing that. I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's fair to try to go for that 28 hour.
Yeah.
And if I do better, that's even fantastic. I've put a lot on my body this year, and I'm not a spring chicken. And I just want to be able to keep running for years and years to come. So I'll be smart. I mean, if I'm going to finish, but I'm not going to
just kind of run how you feel. You think?
Yeah, I'll just see how it goes. So I know the way.
You've been there, done that.
There.
That's awesome. And it's supposed to be a great year for weather.
Yeah, it's going to be good weather.
It's going to be good weather.
Yeah.
You're gonna
hope it rains in the next couple of weeks. So
it's not going to.
Yeah,
I don't think it will either.
Decent weather then.
Going to wear some dust masks.
Yeah.
So overall, great year.
Yeah.
Great experience at UTMB. 2 more races left this year.
Yes.
I'm going to keep throwing that out there,
sign
man.
up for that still.
It's filling up quick.
Yeah. Do I get a free entry, though? With
UTMB doesn't qualify.
Not a point. Oh, shoot.
Did you bring any cheese back?
Yes.
Hey, that might get you a free entry.
That might actually work for
you. My
you.
socks, actually.
Wait a minute.
No.
Extra flavor.
Listen, we don't want the bacon flavored.
Yeah.
Cheese.
Bacon feet. Yeah.
They had so much cheese there. Oh my gosh.
Me and Joel joke about this, but man, I really just want to go and I'll crew somebody, man. They get me there. I will crew them.
Yeah,
right?
I told you guys to come out this year.
I will.
Yeah, we talked
didn't
about
get it.
I will change their socks.
Well, if
that's
it works next year, we'll have
is.
to figure that out.
That's nasty. I don't like feet, so that's how committed I am to getting over there. Well, that's really awesome. I mean, we're super pumped. I mean, we've been excited about it, especially to get you on the show because UTMB is a different animal that not a lot of people do experience for different reasons. It is a commitment on a few different levels, but. Made O-Town proud.
Thanks.
Yep. You made the O-Town crew proud.
Thank you.
We're super excited to see you do well at the Bear. I think you're going to have a good day. You're going to carry this over, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
Hope so.
Next year, anything on your bucket list for next year yet?
Gosh, it's that big one. You always hope it's going to work out.
Getting the Hard Rock?
That would just be...
Oh, that's just on Gib Wallace.
I think, right. Gib Wallace.
Trail Festival. You've never been to that.
I've never been in town for that still, right?
Good point.
Yeah.
That's when I was over in Helsinki.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, Helsinki,
we'll
Ogden, whatever. We'll let it slide this time.
So Gib Wallace is on the radar.
Right. That's what we wanted to hear.
Hard Rock, I don't know. Somebody asked me the other day, so do you get a kind of a little bit of an edge for Hard Rock since you did UTMB? I'm like, no.
Nope.
No,
don't give you an
not
edge
at
for
all.
anything.
Nothing.
But more than anything, I hope Bryce gets into that because this will be his 9th try. So he's going to be one of those ones I hope that gets in this year, and I hope I do too. That would be
interesting.
So plan on that.
So that's one you're looking forward to. So you got Gib Wallace, you got Hard Rock. Is there anything else on your kind of list you're just kind of looking at?
Yeah, I'd kind of like to do that Trans Rockies.
Oh, yeah.
That looks fun.
Talking about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Something like that. Maybe, I don't know, I'd love to try the Hurt. I forgot the lottery for this year. So maybe
you go have fun
around
with that.
the corner.
Yeah.
Let Hawaii dry out a little bit. It looks nasty over there right now.
Yep.
So maybe what's that, 2020? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
January 2020?
2020. Yep.
So kind of think about that.
Right.
I just want to kind of play it easy and just see what kind of adventures come up. Nothing really.
Well, I mean, Hard Rock's a big one.
That would be a big
Get into that. That's kind of that'll lock in your year for you.
Yes.
And that's a matter of how you want to train for it.
Right.
Race for it or...
Because the elevation at UTMB is not even close to that at all.
No.
We're talking, 8,900, if that.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was an advantage, I think.
And the altitude.
Yeah, that's what she said.
That's what that meant. But
Okay. I thought you were talking about elevation gain overall. 'Cause it's more. That's what I thought she meant.
That's fine.
Not you said elevation, right?
Well, the elevation gains, yeah. Well, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because I use the word altitude, right?
So it wasn't like the Hard Rock would be. It doesn't get up that high. It's not 14.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's all 8s and 9s. If
and there's
that.
no drums
Right.
the night before. Just
No
a bunch of
We can maybe fix that.
just a bunch of people hung over the morning of watching the race.
That would be good for those people.
Yeah.
Right?
So, well, that'd be cool to see both of you get into that.
That would be
So
awesome.
I'm gonna head out again next year.
Cool.
This year was a good experience, other than the car breaking down. So,
Gosh.
well, yeah. Well, good luck with that. We'll
Thank
be
you.
throwing some Trail Manners mojo that direction, and hopefully you can get into that. We look forward to seeing you at Nordic Valley and Gib Wallace on
Yes.
its third year.
Third. Wow.
Yeah, because you missed the first two.
Yeah.
I did. Dang it. Third's a charm, always.
Hope so. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for the support on that. And no, congratulations on everything you've done. You mentioned you haven't been doing it long, but you've done a good job with it. So
Thanks.
it's you do it for the right reasons. It looks like so. Another good year's on its way.
Hope so.
All right. Well, good luck at the
Thanks,
Bear.
you guys.
Thanks
We'll
for
have
coming.
to go do some axe throwing again soon.
Oh yeah. Well yeah. So me and Tara went through some axes not too long ago,
That was
and
the secret.
I went up to Tony Grove like a week or two later and did some axe throwing myself.
Oh, you
Nice.
did?
And it works. Yeah. Like, you can carry over. You just got to adjust with the axe you have weighted.
Oh,
But it could be a new hobby.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to start, like, some cool axe throwing competition, obscure fat-ass version.
Okay, I
Yeah.
was going to say, they already have those competitions.
Yeah, no, the fat-ass version where
Yeah.
you can, like, have
Right.
beers and do it.
Gotcha.
You know, put cans on your head, let someone take the axe,
Yeah.
your can off your head.
I'm
Those
out.
type of ones, you know,
Sounds
funner
fine.
stuff.
I'm done with that.
It's totally legal. I've been looking into it. I got a lawyer. So yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
You bet.
Congratulations. And haven't done a Tuesday podcast in about a month.
Oh,
So this is a good way to kick us back off again. So
good. Well, thanks for having me, guys.
yeah, thanks
Always
for
a
making the
pleasure.
time.
Appreciate
Always a
hanging out with
pleasure.
you.
This is your third time on, so we got some front runners for who's on 4 or 5. So we'll see what happens there.
Wow.
So
I better get my act together.
you better do something else really cool.
I'll try.
Get
Yeah.
back on the show. So.
Might take a couple years again.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for listening to Trail Manners Podcast. I want to thank Tara again for joining us. This is Eric and Joel, and we are out. Thank you for listening to the Trail Manners Podcast. We'd like to thank Tara Warren for taking the time to join us today. You can check more out on Instagram of Tara at Run with Tara on Instagram. Run with Tara. We also want to encourage everybody to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Trail Manners, or please swing by our website at trailmanners.com. There we do have a few items left on our store page, or you can contact us. Let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear, or if you would like to be on the show. Until next time, this is Eric Manning with Joel Hatch reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.